The snow fell heavy across the empty plains, painting the land in endless white, as though the heavens themselves had chosen to erase every trail of life from the earth. And in the middle of that merciless storm stood a young woman, clutching her infant to her chest, shivering, trembling, abandoned and utterly alone, her breath coming in sharp bursts that quickly vanished into the biting wind. She had been left behind by those who promised her shelter, left behind by the wagon train that once offered hope, and all she had now was the fragile heartbeat of her baby against her skin, a heartbeat she swore she would protect, even if it meant the last drop of strength in her body. Yet as the storm howled louder and her knees buckled beneath the crushing cold, she whispered silent prayers, her lips cracked and raw, asking God, asking fate, asking anyone listening, not for herself, but for the tiny child who had never known warmth, never known safety. And just when her voice faded into despair, a figure emerged from the white blur of snow, a lone rider on horseback, tall in the saddle, broad-shouldered, his silhouette sharp against the storm. And as he drew near, the sound of hooves breaking the silence, she saw a man with piercing eyes beneath the brim of a weathered hat, a cowboy whose presence carried both the weight of the land and the promise of strength. He dismounted quickly, his boots sinking into the snow, his hand reaching for her with a steadiness that felt like salvation itself. And without hesitation, he swept the baby from her weakening arms and cradled the child against his chest, wrapping his coat around them both, his voice deep and commanding yet kind as he said, "You're safe now, ma'am. Both of you." Words that cut through the storm like fire cutting through darkness. And though the woman's legs gave way, the cowboy caught her too, lifting her in his strong arms as though she weighed nothing, carrying both mother and child with a determination that no blizzard could stop, his stride powerful, his heart pounding with urgency. For he knew if he faltered, 2 innocent souls would be lost to the cruel winter. He carried them across the frozen stretch to his horse, securing the baby safely against her mother before mounting with them both, pulling the reins tight, urging his horse into the wind. And the ride felt endless, the snow lashing at his face, his muscles burning as he shielded them with his own body, whispering promises into the storm that they would see firelight again, that they would live, that hope was not gone. After what seemed like hours, the faint glow of a cabin window pierced the icy night, and with a final push he reached his homestead, kicking open the door to warmth and fire, laying the woman gently by the hearth and unwrapping the baby, rubbing warmth back into their frozen skin. Alive opened her eyes and met his with tears brimming, whispering a broken thank you that carried the weight of her soul. And in that moment, the cowboy realized he hadn't just saved lives, he had been given a purpose greater than the loneliness he had long carried, a chance to protect, to provide, to love. And as the snow raged outside, the cabin became a sanctuary of life, a reminder that even in the coldest storms, kindness and courage could spark miracles. So remember, dear viewer, no matter how lost or abandoned you may feel, there is always a light waiting, always someone or something that will carry you to safety when you need it most. And if this story touched your heart, if it gave you warmth against your own storms, then make sure to subscribe to our channel for more powerful tales like this one, because just like the cowboy's fire, we aim to bring you light, hope, and stories that keep your spirit alive. Morning light crept through the frost-covered window, casting a soft glow across the small cabin, and for the first time in what felt like eternity, the woman opened her eyes to warmth instead of snow, to the crackle of fire instead of the howl of the wind. She stirred slowly, her arms instinctively tightening around her baby, who now slept peacefully, wrapped snugly in a quilt the cowboy had placed over them during the night. Her heart, still fragile from fear, swelled with gratitude as she turned her gaze toward the man who had saved them. He sat by the fire, silent, his hat tipped low, mending a strap on his saddle with careful, practiced hands. He looked every bit the lone rider, a man used to the quiet company of the plains, yet she sensed something in him that spoke of unspoken burdens, loneliness, loss, perhaps even a longing for family. When he realized she was awake, he offered a gentle smile, his voice steady but softer now. "You're safe here. The storm's still raging outside, but it won't touch you or your little one under my roof." She tried to thank him, but emotion caught in her throat, her eyes brimming instead with tears that said more than words ever could. The cowboy set aside his tools, stoked the fire higher, and brought her a bowl of warm broth he had prepared, urging her to eat, reminding her that her strength was not hers alone, anymore. It belonged to her child. She obeyed, her hands trembling as she lifted the spoon, each bite feeling like life returning to her veins. As the day stretched on, the storm outside showed no mercy. But within the cabin, something began to grow: trust, quiet comfort, an unspoken bond between Savior and the saved. The baby stirred and let out a soft cry, and before the mother could rise, the cowboy was already at her side, cradling the infant with surprising tenderness, his rough hands careful, his voice low and soothing as he rocked the child.